Now, Italy, Spain, France, Germany, Austria, Greece, all of these countries have one thing in common: a rise of right or conservative ideology. The victory of Greece's new democratic party has reignited the debate in Europe. Greek conservative leader Kyriakos Mitsotakis has sworn in as the Prime Minister of Greece for the second time, and reports suggest that Mitsotakis took his oath in the presidential palace at a ceremony. Mitsotakis has vowed to boost revenue from the tourism industry, create more jobs and increase wages to near the European Union average. Sunday's vote was a huge defeat for the Greek left parties. Apart from this, the Greek election also witnessed the entry of 3 fringe right-wing and nationalist parties into the parliament. Now, this includes an anti-immigration party dubbed as Spartans. In total, these parties have won more than 35 seats. Let's go across to Germany now. Far-right party Alternative for Germany has made a comeback. AfD candidate Robert Seltmann won a runoff vote in the Sonberg district. The 50-year-old candidate garnered 52.8% of the vote. His campaign focused largely on national rather than local issues, and high inflation rates and rising immigration were at the center. A hard line on immigration is a core AfD theme. However, the possibility that the AfD could win an election has alarmed many critics. They see the party as xenophobic and anti-democratic. AfD first entered the National Parliament in 2017 after campaigning strongly against Arab-speaking migrants. The party's leadership was also accused of invoking national pride reminiscent of the Nazi-era rhetoric. In Austria, there's a far-right party called Freedom Party, and it's led by your Heather. Earlier, Heather made headlines after suggesting that he is sympathetic to the Nazi regime. Today, the party is leading many opinion polls in Austria. It has already picked up pace at the local elections, and experts suggest that at this popularity rate, they can even form the next government. Now, to cope up with the competitive pressure, the Conservative People's Party adopted a very harsh anti-migrants policies. Let's move across to Spain now, where the corridors of power can witness a right-wing leader after Francisco Franco. In the recent local elections, the far-right Vox party exceeded all expectations. A snap general election has been called for July, and political analysts predict Vox could soon become the head of the government. Now, from France is Marine Le Pen and her National Rally Party, Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and her far-right Brothers of Italy party. Political experts are divided over various issues in Europe. This ranges from adopting a new economic strategies to illegal migrant crisis. The one who opposes the conservative ideology questions the alleged threat it brings for workers and sensitive issues like asylum seekers. The one who supports it points towards the direction of open trade and protecting one country's resources.
Fino all'ultimo voto per restituire libertà.
Now, for more on this, Annie Elizabeth Mute is joining us live. She's a journalist, columnist, and of the London Telegraph. She's joining us live from Paris. Welcome to the broadcast, Annie.
Good morning.
Now, 2022 was a good year for the far right in Europe, and 2023 is looking even better for the right wave. Why do you think we are witnessing this change in Europe?
Well, first of all, I think we must make a difference between the right-wing parties whom you've quoted, because the Kyriakos Mitsotakis party is the equivalent of a Christian Democrat party in other countries. It's a conservative party like the old-fashioned parties, like the Tory party in Britain, like the Helmut Kohl and Angela Merkel's party in Germany. And so it's conservative, but it's part of the natural swing of politics. You've got other far-right parties, for instance, the Freiheit Party in Austria. You're quite right, that is a very right-wing party, and also AfD, Alternative für Deutschland in Germany. Those are far-right. Giorgia Meloni has been called far-right, but if you look at her policies, you will realize that actually she is essentially giving a kind of slightly different color to policy that could have been done by her predecessor, Mario Draghi. Vox in Spain is again a different case, and I would always advise people about Europe to say that Europe is not actually a single country, it's several very different countries, but it is also very true that there's a general feeling in Europe that the people in power are not listening to the people, they're not listening to the reaction to what is supposed to be the general assumption is usually a mistake. Immigration is one, gender policies is another one, and the reaction for the people is to go to the ballot box, and as long as they go to the ballot box, it's a lot more democratic than if they go and revolt in the streets.
Right, now you say Europe is not one, it's a set of very different countries. Of course, that's the case, but we are also seeing one common element in most of these right-wing or conservative manifestos, as you would call it, which restrict the refugee inflow. So with the war in Ukraine and non-ending issues in West Asia, do you think this refugee pitch or this immigration pitch is sticking more with voters and in fact will stick even more in the coming months or years?
I think we should see the difference between economic migrants and political refugees. Refugees are provided for by a number of UN conventions, and Ukrainians, who were mostly women and children, are people who were fleeing their country because they were being bombed. It's the same thing in Eritrea. It's the same thing in Afghanistan. It's very clear that in some countries, people leave because they have no choice. What has started worrying people at a time of economic crisis, at a time when the social services and welfare services are breaking down, is the influx of people who think, well, I would like to move to a richer country because my life will be better. And that's because nobody wants to actually make that difference. This is where lots of voters say, look, if you will not listen to what we're saying, which is fine with the Ukrainians, fine with the Afghans, for instance, those translators who worked with Western armies and are threatened by the Taliban, we will welcome them because they have a good reason to leave. We cannot have a space for 2 billion people in a continent of 450 million because they feel that it would be nicer to come with our country. It would be a lot better if they addressed the problems of their corrupt governments, for instance.
All right, Annie Elizabeth, thank you for getting us all those insights from Paris.
Thank you.